Hi everyone, John Doyle from OptixEQ, and I'm going to do a preview of the up-and-coming Florida Derby at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. It's race 14. It's interesting race. Everything kind of pretty much goes to this favorite, I guess, Fierceness, the number 10. And I guess you can like him, but there's some things to be a little bit weary of him, especially as the last race. But you can see he plots as a big square, quadrant one in standard and a little bit smaller square, but in quadrant one also on surface and distance. I like to look at, if you just arrow down and you go to summary on these V-bars, which I call them, it gives you a good indication across at least three of the major handicapping categories: speed, plot, I call it, but pace and class, which horses maybe have an advantage or disadvantage relative to the other horses in the race. And you can see the number 10 with all these V-bars above the line just indicate that he will be the favorite and big favorite, Fierceness. Again, above the line is good, below the line is bad. So when you're looking at horses like the 3, the 7, the 11, the 9, they look like up against it from at least from categories. Now, I always take a closer look at horses. Maybe there's something in their form you can find, but in general, those horses look up against it. And then the others are kind of contenders, or at least for exotics that you want to look at with their kind of V-bars a little bit above the line. But clearly, Fierceness is a horse that you want to evaluate the race around him. Is this a horse you want to play against, or is this a horse you want to skip or single? It all depends. But for me, I'm going to try to play against him a little bit. He's just a little too unreliable for me. Now, he broke his maiden brilliantly, but again, it was a weather biased track, but we gave an A-. I mean, the horse ran a 101. Speed figure, very high for a 2-year-old, going 6 furlongs in the mud. Brilliant. We rarely give A-, so we were impressed with the performance. But he came back in the Champagne, another weather track at Aqueduct, and he ran poorly in that race. Came back again in the Juvenile at Breeders' Cup time and crushed the field. But again, looked good on the track, good warm-up, perfect trip, and huge speed figure and a big B+ Optix no grade. So he's all set up to be the next Kentucky Derby winner, right? Until the Holy Bull, which he came back in. And I'll tell you, he did have a little bit, if you look at the extended comment, he had a little bit of a trip. He was caught wide in the first turn, went after the speed early, maybe made premature move, but he was repelled, and he really was disappointed with his finish. He noticed the grit minus. That's kind of a class keyword. You just think that a horse, even with that scenario and the tactics maybe not the best, should have overcome that and beat the trip. Beat the winner, especially with the speed figure that low. It wasn't that strong of a race, so you just expect him to overcome it. So there's obviously, if he runs one of his best races, there's no one even close to him, but he's been a little bit iffy. So I'm going to try to take a look at some others in here, right? So I'm going to start with a couple of horses. I'm going to start with the 1, Frankie's Empire. This horse made a huge improvement from Delaware. It came shipped into Parks, ran a big race. Thought the race was a little bit hard on him. Came back 39 days later, ran another good race, winning effort, and then followed up that with a good finish in the Fountain of Youth. I don't know how much more upside. He kind of looked like he made all his upside transitioning from Delaware as a 2-year-old to now. And maybe he's a good underneath horse. You can see he's above the bars and all that. There's nothing to knock on him. I don't know how much I'll love him for the win. And don't know what price he's going to be. It was 5-1 in the Fountain Youth. I thought that was kind of a low price to begin with for that race. I think he might be similar. So Frank, it all depends on Frankie's Empire and how they're betting him. But I'm thinking more underneath than on top for him. The 2 heydays. Here's a horse that beat Fierceness in that Holy Bull race, showed some grit, showed some pop. There's not a lot of pace if you go back to the plot. The contention is Snowflake, speed rating 0, so there's not a lot of pace in this race too. So I'm assuming the tactics are going to be the same. Going to go out there and try to dictate the pace and take them wire to wire. Now you got 9 furlongs, and you have 9-1 versus what he's maybe be much less than that today, I would imagine. So you're not going to have that same kind of price, is my expectation. And if you notice the race shapes, you see the race shapes were very slow, and slow, very slow in his last two races, which helped carry his speed. So, hey, he's still a contender, just probably not going to be the price that we want to see for Hades. The next horse I wanted to look at was the 5, Real Macho. He kind of runs a good race, bad race, good race kind of thing. He was fourth in the Fountain of Youth, kind of an even race. Did get a little kickback in that race. And if you look at the extended comment, into the turn, he kind of lost running rhythm into the turn. He gets a rider change here. He's a horse that maybe you want to consider underneath too. I'm not so sure for the win in. Other than the setup race, he hasn't run that fast. You can see the setup. That's kind of a negative thing. I mean, the race kind of fell into his lap. Other than that, his speed figures have been a little bit low. So, I think maybe underneath more than on top for number 5. The number 6, La Dame Bro. Thought he got a pretty good trip in the Fountain of Youth, a pocket trip, safe ground, extended comment. Yeah, carved out a good trip, tried to put head on the big favorite on the turn, but never could poke in front. And I think maybe that race, I mean, maybe he's got a little bit of progression still. His third race off a layoff. The thing I don't like, if you look at the summary bar here, is his plot is below the level here. So that's a concern for me. In other words, I might be limiting to underneath, okay? The next contender I wanted to look at is the number 4. And here's the horse that I think might represent the most value in the race. Grand Mo the First. Okay, this horse started in synthetic, won his first 2 races of Gulfstream. Good speed figures, going 5 furlongs. They stretched the horse out in the Zuma Beach, a better than looked effort, runs at 86. And then gets scratched at a juvenile lake. They went on the turf. And then all of a sudden they switched this horse to dirt. So they must have thought this horse maybe had some ability on dirt. He ran a really good, I thought, a third in the swell. Okay. And I liked him a lot going into that Tampa Derby. And that Tampa Derby was a weird race. The speed figure came back real low, but you'll notice that the race was kind of reversed. It was really slow early. I mean, extremely slow early, and they really finished home. And I think that race, I know people are going to look at that negatively because the overall speed figure, but I like when horses are really finishing route races at this point in their career, especially going for the Kentucky Derby. And if you look, I mean, we have some of the brisk speed figures here. I mean, it's just off the chart. His late pace, it's 122. And I thought he ran a real good race because he was kind of stuck wide and it was a bunched up field and he just kept trying to the wire, got bumped a couple of times. This is his third race off a layoff. I think if you can project some more improvement off his 2-year-old races, maybe another lift, I think this horse is a good price. It's going to be probably undervalued here. And I think he's the value, either in exotics or taking a shot with him in the win. And I like the fact that he gets his win jockey back too. Gets reunited with him on this track. Now, again, it's dirt versus synthetic. But I think this is a horse to really consider in all slots for the Florida Derby. Okay, Grand Mo the First. So that's it. It all depends on, the other horses I really don't see as contenders. I think it all depends of where you stand with fierceness. I'm going to take a little shot. And Grand Mo the First is a horse that I just want to make sure that I'm using in multiple slots here at Gulfstream on Saturday. Check us out at OptixEQ on Twitter, and also check out the website OptixEQ.com. A lot of good notes and content for the Florida Derby and the whole undercard. So enjoy and good luck to you.